1099 is what allows you all of the other deductions that you cannot get as an employee. As an employee, you've already said, okay, Uncle Sam's going to get this much, FICO's going to get this much, State's going to get this much, Fed's going to get this much. And here's something that's really funny, because I've been saying to my husband for years that I have asked that man to get a business on the side because he's just brilliant.
All right, so we are back, and we got Mrs. Beverly Neal-Clinton with us, who's going to be talking more with us. We have a very stuck mindset sometimes, and sometimes we get very, very stuck, and we have a hard time moving forward and things that can change our lives. So Beverly, given your experience and given all that you have, come to do in your life, and just been helping people over the past couple of years, maybe tell us a little bit about yourself first, because this is definitely a different show. You appeared on other shows with me, but share a little bit about us, and then let's, kind of unravel this here topic at hand.
Oh, Shirley, thank you for a great introduction. Happy New Year. It's always good to be back. This feels like home to me. We've been together so much lately. So for those of your viewers who are new and haven't seen the previous podcast, I am a serial entrepreneur. I've always believed in depending on yourself and accepting responsibility for your own actions. I'm a Marine. I'm a mom. I like businesses that return great ROI. So I flip businesses. I tell you what to do with the money once you make money from those businesses, which is where we are now. But getting back to the question that you asked earlier about why do we get stuck? That's a great topic. I think from what I've seen and from the people that I've worked with, if I were to nail one primary obstacle, it would be fear. And we've all heard the adage of false evidence appearing real. But the sooner we understand, or maybe even overstand, that the only obstacle that ever stops us truly is ourselves. No one else is strong enough to do that unless you lay down and allow them to walk over you, because that's the only place that placemats work. Foot mats work. They work when they're laid down. When they're standing up, they are a formidable foe, and you may get through them, but you're going to work much harder. And the same is true for how do we get unstuck. You have to know that everything happens you are where you are right now in this very moment as a result of all of the previous choices you've made. No one else made those choices for you. You are where you are as a result of the choices you've made. And just as you are able to make those choices, you can make other choices. If you're around the same people who are stuck, then maybe you need new friends. The world, there's, 8 billion people out here. You can go find a new one. I think about whenever I go home to South Carolina, there are many people there who still have the same mindset, and their family's been there, and so they're there, and they're raising their children there, and there's a good place to be, but it's also a good place to be from as well.
Right. Yeah, in hearing that and just kind of looking back on, something I recently did, I was looking at are many people afraid of success, fear of success, and it turns out that it's not necessarily the fear of success. It's the fear of of committing. Most times people have a fear of committal, and don't want to commit to anything, and because it's going to require something of them. Okay.
Commitment is a big thing, but you can either commit consciously or you can commit unconsciously. The fact that you don't do anything, that is an unconscious commitment that guarantees you that nothing will change. A conscious commitment is on the flip side of that same coin. It's going to guarantee change. That's how come you could have a house where 8 siblings are in that same house, hearing the same message their parents have said to each and every one of them, and you're going to have 8 different points of view, 8 different reactions, because no one else can experience your reality the way you created it except you. You can say, because how many times do we hear that? Don't you see it? Don't you see it? And we are all looking at the same thing, but we don't see it the same way. So that's why when you look at why some people succeed and why some people don't, the people who succeed can see the success. The other ones talk a good game, but they're not really willing to do what's required. That's the only thing that separates the wheat from the chaff. That's it.
It kind of sounds like you have to put on a different pair of glasses, metaphorically speaking, and I think like you said, even inaction and not making a choice is still a commitment to not do it. But that seems to hurt more than actually attempting and following through.
Well, someone said this to me when I was younger. When I say younger, like in my 30s or 40s, because I will be 60 this year. They said that once the older you get, the faster time flies, and it's true. I didn't believe it because, of course, I was young. I thought I knew some things, but it's actually a very true statement. The older you get, the less time you have for wasting it.
Right.
For me, I've always looked at ROI. It doesn't matter what I do. I have even before I knew what that concept meant, return on investment. I always knew that I was not about letting anybody waste my time. And you can invest that time that you have now wisely on the front end so that you have more time on the back end, or you can continue to play catch up because all of us have the same amount of hours during the course of a week. We've all had those people with whom we've worked and you realize they are no smarter than you are, but they are making more money than you are. They've learned how to leverage their time. And if we really want to get to the next level, not only do we have to learn how to leverage our time, we also have to figure out the difference between wholesale and retail. Because we can all do the one-to-one, which is great because that's a good foundation. But when you understand that 1 can equal 5 just as easily as 1 can equal 10, then that'll tell you how to get to 100 much faster.
There you go. And to just play devil's advocate for a second, and while we're still on this topic, is when we tend to use, like I have heard, and seen it, and there was I think it was a slogan for the time machine when it first came out. For the ATM machine, time is money. Then they spelled it with a Y. When there's a lot of people who will give the rebuttal. I'm not gonna call them excuses because some people just don't like to hear the word excuse and say I'm not making an excuse. But when you say rebuttal, it's a little bit softer for them. So when they give the rebuttals about I got a lot of time but I don't got a lot of money. What there's a solution that I got for that. What did you usually prescribe?
You know, when people say that they've got a lot of time but they don't have a lot of money, I've heard that response to people who tend to be paid at an hourly rate. That's their mindset. They cannot understand it's harder for them to understand the concept that when you trade time for money, that's how we are worked into the ground. Because we get this job and then we go get a part-time job. And so then we go get another part-time job. So we have all of these. We got the full-time job for the benefit, then we go get the part-time jobs for extra money. But what we don't understand is that's still trading time for money. Whereas if you keep your daytime job, if you like, you have your part-time hustle. Using the TaxZero plan, you use all the deductions that are now allowable to you as a result of having that part-time hustle. That's what then feeds back into giving you that 70% pay raise. And that way you get to have the part-time hustle that gives you the full-time salary. So that's a shift in thinking. It's a shift in understanding how to leverage your time so that you can get more money and then have more time.
Exactly. And you know, and this whole perception about like, you know, I got a lot of time, but on money. I mean, you really don't if you like traded time for money. That's like that. Like, you know, that actually shrinks down like a real good availability of what you have to go out, and like you said, go out and make more money.
You know, historically, again, when we looked at how we were worked to death, that was all about time because we were up before the sun was up and we were down way after the sun was down. And we were commodities. We were commodities in the time that we were alive as well as the times when we passed and transitioned because there were policies for which they were paid even in our death. Right. So it's ingrained in us to work hard. I'm not saying not to work hard, but I am saying that it's now is the time for us to work smarter.
Right. Okay. Now you mentioned, you know, the TaxZero zero plan, and you know, we kind of like switching tracks a little bit, and I find it interesting, you know, with the TaxZero plan of like how, you know, those who, you know, who's gradually made their way over, you know, to say, okay, well, let me be my own employee instead, you know, and then they get kind of lost, you know, or hung up on like, man, Jesus, but you know, if I don't if I don't work, I'm not gonna get a tax W-2 form at the end of the year, you know. But like maybe kind of explain to them, like, you know, how, like, you know, even with a 1099, this is like even better than a W-2.
A 1099 is what allows you all of the other deductions that you cannot get as an employee. As an employee, you've already said, okay, Uncle Sam's going to get this much, FICO is going to get this much, State's going to get this much, Fed's going to get this much. And here's something that's really funny, because I've been saying to my husband for years that I have asked that man to get a business on the side because he's just brilliant. He got a pay raise that was about a 30% pay raise, which is really great. But then at the beginning of the year, because insurance went up and his taxes went up, he literally zeroed that out. And I looked at him and I said, if you would have had that side gig, I could have written all that off for you. But, you know, and again, no slight against my husband, that's his thing. He likes what he's doing. He is not an entrepreneur. We have always been an oil and water mix. That's okay. But if he would have had just a little side hustle, we would have been able to offset everything as a result of having that 1099 and that EIN that goes along with that because it's a separate entity, there's so many more possibilities. Even when we look at the 1099, I said this to you earlier, it's like the golden ticket with Willy Wonka. It lets you in that factory, and you, by virtue of that, have access to all of the chocolate that's there. And once you realize that's how come really the really, really wealthy, they're never ever gonna work for a wage. Their children will never work for a wage because they understand all of the benefits of having a 1099.
Right.
And we don't. And the only way we will ever change that is that, one, we become the change that we want to be. Two, our children will see that change. Three, their children will wonder why you're not behaving like daddy or grandma, and why are you doing this, because that's not what they're doing. And then they will begin to question all the things that they see around. I mean, like when we went to school, when we went to school, we were taught, well, if Bobby has 5 apples and Johnny has 3 apples, we know that's a total of 8 apples. Well, how many apples will Betty have if each of them give away 2? That's how we were taught math. When you go to prep schools, that is not how they're taught math. They're taught math in this way. If John buys 2 businesses and Adam buys 3 businesses, how many businesses do both Adam and John have? Notice the languaging?
Yeah.
There is a difference between owning and having and then giving away. We are taught to give away. They are taught to acquire.
Wow.
Big difference in the languaging. Same math concepts, but very different languaging.
Yeah, and you hear that language constantly, and that language which is engineered to kind of oppress you anyways. It subconsciously records in your head, and before you know it, you're telling yourself this, and you don't feel deserving of acquiring. And would it be fair to say that this is kind of like the roadblock to like moving forward in things that like are filled with like great opportunity, the golden ticket?
It's that mass between your ears is what slows down everything. I'm a new grandma, so I am always talking Gigi things to my kids. So I tell them that a child between the ages of 0 and 3, they are a sponge. They pick up things and behaviors that we don't understand, they don't understand, but it is so ingrained in them, the behaviors, because they're incredibly intuitive. They're picking up all the verbals, all the nonverbals. So now we have these things that we just have always seen, or the messages we've heard about, money doesn't grow on trees, or, every time I look at you, it costs me money, or how much money do you think I have, or you have to choose between one or the other. Those are the things that we have grown up in, and what I say to people is, that's true. That's what we grew up in.
Right.
Now, having said that, that was the ground upon which your seeds were planted. But the beautiful thing about each and every soul is that the gift is that you get to choose what your life looks like. Our parents, our forefathers, they all did the best they could with what they had. And had they been allowed more, then they would have done more. But now the biggest question is what are you going to do with the present gift of life that you have? Because I tell people, if I provide you with this information and you've heard it, it's like ringing a bell. You will forevermore from this point forward know what the sound of a bell sounds like. It's up to you as to whether or not you understand that's a trolley, if it's a Mack truck, if it's a car.
Yeah.
But it's up to you to make that distinction, because no one gets to, my husband says to me all the time, if he wants to see me get get after it. Tell me what I can't do. Just say it. And I've become almost crazy with proving you wrong. Because I know that the only person who could stop me from accomplishing whatever that goal is me. And I'm not, if I have to go through you to do it, I'm okay with that. Right. I don't, and until we nurture that part of us that's a little bit afraid and say it's okay, it's just like any child. It's okay to be afraid. But when you were a child, you played with childish things, and now that you're an adult, it's time to adult up. It's okay to be afraid. That's a healthy and natural response to something that you don't know. Like sometimes people tend to get very frustrated when they don't understand something. We need to understand that frustration is just the body and the mind's way of saying, I don't understand how this works. But once you understand how it works, you're not frustrated anymore. Now it's just a part of what you do and how you do it. It doesn't mean that you can't do it. It just means that this particular moment in time, you don't understand the mechanics of
it. Yeah, that's awesome. Like illustration there, and very very wise words to to live by and to apply. Especially if if you want to break down the barriers and the different cloth within the heart, that pull at your emotions. To be able to move forward on such a great opportunity, such good information that you have to offer. Maybe tell us a little bit about that as we come down to the bottom of this 30-minute, this half-hour session here.
Understand that frustration is just that. It's nothing more, nothing less. You only become frustrated when you can't understand or you don't comprehend. And I say to everyone, you can always comprehend. You can always understand. That's why corporate owners and businesses are where they are, because they had access to information and now they understand. The TaxZero plan is about allowing you access to the information so that now you understand the rules of engagement. Because you guys have heard me say this before. It's my grandma talking here. You do better when you know better. We're offering you the chance to know better, which will then in turn do better. Be that first monkey that creates the 100th monkey syndrome so that your family will automatically excel and become geniuses and create something beyond even your wildest dreams because you've set the foundation. But you've got to start somewhere. That's it. Just be willing to start. Take that first step. Know that it's going to be uncomfortable. Know that you're not going to be by yourself. Know that we have a vested interest in your success. That's it.
Thank you so much for that. So like if people who probably wondering, how they can learn more about how you can help them beyond that. And when I say she you talk to her on the phone, she's sweet as pie, she's fierce. Don't get it wrong. She's also sweet as pie, and she will hold your hand and walk with you through this whole process, for those who have made it this far, she has incredible offering and gift that you can't pass up. It is the golden ticket, So maybe kind of tell them what we've been kind of hinting at all along.
I've been saying to people, just imagine where you would be. Okay, anybody who knows me has also heard me say this before. So for 450 years, we've had taxation without representation. All I'm asking for is you know what, I'll give you 50 years back. Just give me the 400 years where my tax monies can come back to me. And if 400 years is too many years for you to imagine right now, just imagine 50 within your lifetime. Where would you be if you didn't have to pay taxes for 50 years? Imagine that. I want you to seriously just think about that, because that's what this program can do. And if you can't do 50, God Do 25. I can give you numbers again. That's going to be close to like $975,000 if you just did it for 25 years. But you're going to be compounding that, which again, if we've had, y'all should all be familiar with the 450. So now let's switch the gears and choose to experience what it could be like for 50 years. And I guarantee you that once you feel it for the first year, I can't imagine why you wouldn't go back. And not unless either you are brain dead or you're just dead. One of the two, not one of the two. Because if someone is going to give you 70% of your salary, and I said this before, we all have the same amount of hours in a week. Now you have leveraged those hours to now have more money doing the same thing. Why would you not come back to that? Right. And it's all legal. It's 100% legal. I am not asking you to do anything that would jeopardize you, your family, your health. I am trying to show you how to capitalize on what you're already doing. And all it takes is just admitting that you're going to be uncomfortable for a minute. That's all, just for a minute. And the whole big scheme of things, just for a minute, you'll be uncomfortable. And then it'll be so familiar to you, you'll own it. And you will go out and create amazing things for you and your community.
I love it. After like getting some tuning into the mind today, and in the deep subconscious, we hope that you have made at least start inching towards a mind shift to transforming your life. We have Beverly Neal-Clinton here, wonderful person, incredible person who has just a nice little path for you to walk on and lead you to the waters. So get in touch with her. You can reach her. I have the websites in the episode description, but how would you like to be reached, Beverly?
I prefer emails because that way we can stay in contact. Beverly AAT at gmail.com, or I've got a TikTok account. You can just find me through Being, and that's BEINATT, which is Being African American Trust. And we have a Facebook page, African American Trust. You can always reach out to us that way. But yes, let's let 2023 be the year that starts our Jubilee, because like I said, I don't know how to make it much easier than that. I've given you a scholarship. Like I said, you tell me one other offering where they're saying you could pay me back when you get paid. I got time and we can wait, and you can just let this tape run. So we're giving you the scholarship. We're telling you that you don't pay us back until you make money, and we're giving you a vacation, 3 to 5 days, anywhere in the world. You name me, somebody else is offering you something. Oh, by the way, the vacation it's free. Anywhere in the world. So I've made it as easy as humanly possible for you to succeed. Other than, and you and I talked about this before, other than me doing the work for you, I have opened the doors, greased the skid, and I'm just standing there waiting on you to come down the slide. You gotta jump. You gotta do it.
Yeah, I like it. Well, this is very incredible. You're only going to find it here. I don't think you would have found this wonderful person anywhere else. So with that being said, you guys take the time out right now to share this with someone you don't know. We would like to hear what you think about the information. So comments are definitely appreciated, but you can direct them directly to Miss Beverly Neal-Clinton, with the email she provided, or TikTok if you on TikTok your way over there, however you want to get over there, but just get over there.
Just get over there.
Yeah, just get over there. And then of course, as always, you can find more episodes of the Transform You Live Show simply by visiting Transform You podcast. And I just had the website, and that is just a shame that I don't have a new website in front of me. Oh yeah, Transform You Pods, transformyoupods.crd.com. So transform you, the letter U, pods.crd.co is where you'll find previous episodes and other great podcasts too, and other industry leading episodes and other things that's like really inspiring. So that's all we got for today. I'm Marcus Hart. Until next time, many blessings, peace, and lots of love. We're all done here.